Hi everyone, welcome to this video where I am about to set up my August month in my bullet journal in the theme of India. So starting off here with just illustrating the national flag of India in the front section of my journal. This way I can look back at the end of the year and see which countries we were able to visit. And then I'm getting straight into it with the cover page of my August theme. Now, to decide on the cover page is always a fun thing for me to do. It's the time that I spend most amount of art involved in it. So I consider this like one of my monthly art pieces. And this one was very tricky to decide because there's a lot of awesome content from India. So much color, so much beauty, so much tradition, but also so much gold. So I was very excited. And when I found something called the Golden Temple, I pretty much couldn't go past it. If you've been on the channel with me here for a while, you'll know that I just love gold and I love to find ways to use it in my art and in my journal. And so yeah, I decided on that to be the geographical location for my cover page. I, on these cover pages, always include like an idea of myself traveling, so a girl traveling to these destinations. And in this one, I decided that something that always pops into my head with India is elephants, and I learn a little bit more about that later on, which I'll tell you about in a second. But I just thought it would be really cool to include one of those elephants that are painted and in the background have that golden temple, just to tie two fun elements together and really sort of invoke that Indian look to the spread. So what is it that makes me think of elephants when I think of India? I didn't really know until I researched a bit. So elephants in India are considered absolutely sacred. They are the sacred animal of most of the religions there, in particular Hinduism. And the reason for that is that it's considered the living representation of one of their most important gods called Ganesh. And he is the elephant-headed deity that rides a mouse. He is considered the god of good fortune and prosperity and success. And this, I guess, attributes to why the elephant is considered a lucky token that symbolizes mental strength and wisdom. I must say I am very happy that this is the sacred animal of India because for however long, I can't remember, this has been my favorite animal. I absolutely adore elephants and I just think they're the best. So to be able to feature one on the cover page was very fun to me. I have painted many elephants before, but this one I've never painted before. I've never painted a painted elephant. So I decided to do that based on the very popular elephant festival that's held in Jaipur every year in March. And I actually found another reason that elephants are so sacred. Apparently in Indian mythology, gods and the demons stirred the ocean in hopes that they would become eternal. Suddenly 9 jewels, also known as the Navratnas, which is Sanskrit word for 9 gems, they surfaced from the ocean, and one of those 9 jewels that appeared was the elephant. Since then, the elephant has been regarded as a precious animal. So this goes way back, way back, and I think it's pretty much present in all the religions that are in India. They all consider elephants sacred. So that's awesome, and I'm happy about that. Now in the background, as I said, I am illustrating the Golden Temple, which is situated in Amritsar, and it's in the middle of a man-made pool. It's really, really cool. I thought it was on a lake, but when I looked into it more, it's actually in a very big square-shaped man-made pool. And now this is a Sikh temple from the religion Sikhism, and it's been built several times since 1589 when it was first built, because it did get destroyed over the years many times. So the existing temple was built in 1809 and it's in marble and copper. And then the gold foil that makes it this luscious gold was added in 1830. So aside from the look of it being amazing and that I wanted to paint it because it was gold, there's actually a really nice story behind it as well. Something I read about the temple being an open house. So for all religions and no matter what your faith, you can come in and it actually gives you a free meal. So the Sikh community run a kitchen that serves a simple vegetarian meal to all the visitors without discrimination. So over 100,000 people visit this holy shrine each day for worship, and they receive the free meal and then be on their way ready for the next round of people to come in. And I've never heard of that along our virtual travels. So I just thought that was really nice and something I should mention here in case anyone ever wants to go into this temple, you will be welcomed with open arms no matter what faith you have. So to paint this artwork for my cover page, I do tend to use a 300 GSM watercolor paper because I find that although the journal is very good for watercolor, you just don't want to risk it with putting too much on there because the water will eventually buckle the paper beyond saving. So I prefer to do these big pieces on a separate piece of watercolor paper so that I can really go to town on my detail and, I don't have to worry about it buckling or breaking through the page. I'm using my Holbein gouache for this piece. I have been loving using gouache lately. I'm still learning its properties a little bit more. The more I use it, I feel the better I get. But yeah, it's just definitely a learning curve. So it's between a watercolor and an acrylic. So it definitely dries different, but if you stick at it and you can really keep layering and building it up, it's really, really fun to use. So I recommend it if you are keen on getting started with something. Give it a try. It's really fun. So I've only got a pack of 12. So all the colors that I made in this came from, just a few colors as well. And then the beautiful gold that you see on the temple is my Kuretake Gansai Tambi gold watercolor. Longest name ever, but the best watercolor I've experienced. I love using this gold wherever I can. I'm using it to highlight the beautiful tiles down on the floor. They have all these beautiful tiles going around the outside of this temple. So all the little streets are lined with proper marble tiles, I think. So I'm just accenting those with a bit of gold and then going in with my Pigma Micron just to detail everything so it just doesn't look like a big lump of gold in the background. It actually is a building. So I'm just detailing that a little bit and adding some pieces of detail to the elephant, and then she was finished. But not before I added in the name of the month. I always like to include it somewhere in the drawing. I didn't quite know where to put it, but I decided on just writing it very simply in a sort of a calligraphy font with my gold pen, and that did the trick. And now I'm cutting it up and sticking it into the journal. And here's the final piece. I am super happy with this cover page. It gives me very warm and happy vibes when I open to it. I can't wait to start using it. So I really wanted to give this wavy effect on this whole setup. So I have gone with circular tabs again, which I did a few months ago. I just definitely remember it from my Finland setup. If you haven't seen that one, feel free to check it out. That's where I began doing these circular tabs. And I just love them. And I think it was going to really work with the design element that I've thought of for this page, the calendar page. So a big thing that I thought of when I think of India as well is a lot of that decorative tattoo art that you see. Now, I'd always only called this henna, but now I know the proper Indian term for it, which is called mendi. And mendi is the actual process of grinding up the henna plant to make the powder that is then created into the paste or the dye that will go on as temporary tattoos onto the skin. So the correct terminology for Indian tattoo art like this is mendi. And what I wanted to do with this, how I wanted to create it on this page, was go for the national animal of India, which is the Bengal tiger. I was very happy about that. I also love tigers. So I thought that would look awesome if I worked it into a design as if it was done in the mendi style. I've always wanted to try this mendi on myself. I think actually even doing it would be so much fun because I love these kind of designs and all those intricate patterns that you can come up with. So yeah, one day I'm hoping to create some mendi of my own, whether it's on me or somebody else, I don't know. I definitely am a bit of a wuss and there's no way I would get a real tattoo. One, because I don't want the pain, but two, because I chop and change with what I like in art all the time. So to have something on my body that I am not necessarily wanting forever, I just won't do it. So the idea of henna to me is ideal. So yeah, one day I will do that. But for now, we're just going to decorate the page in whatever patterns that came to my mind at the time. I tried to just get in the Zen mode and focus on just what I was drawing, and some really cool little patterns came out. It does remind me of the Marimekko designs that I looked at in Finland as well. So I was getting real, vibes for that sort of intricate patterns, but I just loved it. So I kept going and I ended up almost covering the whole page, which wasn't my original intention, but I'm glad I went with it because, I really like it. I have left a spot down in that bottom left corner for where I track my YouTube growth, which I recently hit 20,000 subscribers. Thank you again so much for the people who have subscribed to the channel. If you're not subscribed and you want to help out and you want to come along this journey where we plan our months out and explore the world while we're doing it, feel free to click the subscribe button and put the notification bell on so you get notified. I also included in my pattern one of the feathers from a peacock, and this was because the peacock is actually the national bird of India. And something that I found out, which I found very interesting, is that peacocks can actually fly, but they live mainly on the ground in forests, and they forage for berries, grains, but they also prey on snakes, lizards, and small rodents. And their loud calls make them easy to detect, and in forest areas often indicate the presence of a predator such as a tiger. So I feel like if I spotted a peacock now in India when I'm out walking about, I'm going to be petrified that a tiger is close by. So consider that a warning. Just admire the peacock and then skedaddle. And then in one of the decorative circles on the top right-hand corner, I decided to make that the space for the title of the month. So I'm just writing in a sort of Sanskrit Indian style text, the word Aug for August. And now it is time for the finished piece. Here we are, my calendar page where I can now write down the birthdays and reminders for the overall month. Okay, moving on to my next page, which is my needs and wants. Now, this is a space where I write down the things I need to purchase or want to purchase over the month. So I do generally like to include a sort of an item that you would find on your travels in the country that we're investigating, something that you'll find at the shops or that you want to bring home, just like a nice token of their culture. But because I knew I was including a lot of decorative nature in that front cover page, and I also go into detail in my mind map page, I wanted to keep this as more of a particularly famous practice that came from India, and that is the art of yoga. Now, I practice yoga. I am certainly no master. I do it on and off, but I love it. I've always enjoyed yoga. Feels like exercise, but it's not as harsh as real exercise. But I like that it calms you down and it just feels really good stretching everything out. So I was interested to learn more about yoga and where it came from. And what I learned is that the word yoga is actually Sanskrit, so the ancient Sanskrit language for union. And it developed in ancient India a long, long time ago. It's thought to have started around 3000 BCE. So figured this was so important to include in the setup as it's a big part of most of the Indian religions, and it's something that I'm attached to as well. And I look forward to one day experiencing one of the Indian yoga retreats, maybe. I think that would be really cool. So I was a little bit torn on how to show yoga in drawing, and I thought it might be cute to include the cat and the cow pose in yoga. And instead of using humans, I would use an actual cat and an actual cow in their positions. It did remind me of a book that's written by a Perth author, actually, and it's called The Dalai Lama's Cat, and it's literally told in first person from the cat's perspective on how the Dalai Lama saved this cat, and it's actually a really cool book. But yeah, it just made me think of this, that the cat was doing yoga. And the cow is also sacred in India, so I figured that had a lot of relevance as well, so at least I got the cow in there. And then I also included the Om symbol, which is above the cat. This Om symbol is signifying the universe and the ultimate reality, and it's a very, very important, maybe the most important of the Hindu symbols. And now I'm moving on to the meal planner page, and I'm just keeping this whole spread quite simple, just using my Pigma Micron fine liners in black and then an additional marker that's in a cinnamon color, and it's just to add a little bit of something to this page. I didn't want to get too detailed, I just wanted to keep it quite simple. Now, normally I use this page to display the national food of the country. Now, India doesn't actually have a designated national dish, so that meant I was free to choose whatever I liked for the meal planner page. And so I ended up choosing something that I personally love and have adored for quite some time and never really thought of where it came from initially. And it turns out that chai tea or chai latte, is originally an Indian creation. It makes sense to me now, considering how aromatic it is and with spices, and I just never really thought about it though. So I now know that the masala chai that I know and love originated in India. And as far as tea drinking goes, it is the most popular beverage in India, and they're actually the largest producer of tea in the world. They also are the biggest population of vegetarians in the world. And so I wanted to include a vegetable or fruit on this page. So then I looked at the national fruit for India, and it turns out it is the mango. And I also found out that almost half the mangoes in the world are actually grown in India. So yeah, they're almost 50% of the mangoes are from there. So that was interesting to me. So I definitely wanted to include that on this page. It's a shame that I didn't really get to illustrate any of my favorite dishes. I love Indian cuisine. My favorite dishes are malai kofta, chicken tikka, naan, papadums, onion bhaji, samosas. Okay, that's enough. But also we went to this restaurant recently called Saror, and it's in Fremantle, if anyone's from Perth, which is highly unlikely. But if you're near Fremantle, a restaurant called Saror. It's Indian street food, and it was just incredible. I'm going to put some photos onto my Instagram of the food that I had there, but oh, it was absolutely to die for.
The yellow one is a mango, green one is pistachio, the light one is
Oh, it looks amazing. Thank you. I'm going mango first. Okay, ready? Oh my gosh, like you are mango frozenness. It's so good. Such a good night and so delicious. And now it's finished. It's quite a simple page, but I think after the detail of the previous two, I definitely needed some space, some breathing space around it. And now I can fill this out ready for the month of August, where I'm going to continue on my vegetarian action and try and just make vegetarian meals at home, as inspired by most of India being vegetarian. Okay, and now moving on to my favorite page that I love to work on each month. This is the page that most people would call the brain dump page, but I like to call it the mind map because I like to think it's getting my mind clear of all that excess information that doesn't actually have a spot anywhere else through my journal setup. So this is just where I throw things that don't have a place yet, and then I'll go through them throughout the month and just tick things off or be reminded of things. So this is where I clear my mind, so I call it the mind map. And this one, I always like to focus on either a well-known or well-respected individual from that country itself. So for my Indian setup, it was actually the first person I thought of when I think of India, because for a while I was watching a few Bollywood films and she was the star. So her name is Aishwarya Rai. Hopefully I'm saying that right. But I think she is absolutely gorgeous, and I think she was the most beautiful woman in the world for many years running. She was the Miss World in '94, and I really love, there's one movie that I saw she did which was Bride and Prejudice, and I really liked that. So then I went on to find her other movies that were more Bollywood films rather than that kind of Americanized version in the Bride and Prejudice. So yeah, I really liked her stuff, and I thought she would make a beautiful entry into my mind map page. So speaking of Hindi cinema, or Bollywood cinema as we may know it, did you realize that it's actually the world's largest film industry? So in terms of Bollywood versus Hollywood, Bollywood is about 2 times the size of it due to the amount of movies they're putting out and then the amount of tickets sold. It's double the size. So that was quite incredible to me. So obviously there's plenty of Bollywood stars, and I'm just illustrating one of them. The other 2 that came up a lot in my research were also incredibly beautiful women called Deepika Padukone and Priyanka Chopra. So they get special mentions, but I wasn't able to include them in the setup. So to illustrate Aishwarya, I'm using my Prismacolor pencils, my colored pencils, and I'm trying to do it quite realistically for the skin and face and hands. And then all the jewels that she's wearing, I'm just using very simple line art for them. And then in this image, I think she's decorated like a bride. I think it might be for a movie, because the shots I've seen of her actual wedding, she seems to be wearing something different. So this is just a general look at how a Hindu bride would dress for her wedding. Lots of jewels, lots of embellishment. She's also got the mehendi on her fingertips, like the henna ink around the fingertips, and then she's wearing a sari and one of the headscarves. And I thought that because the headscarf had so much beautiful detail on it and lots of gold accents, I thought I would bring out my washi tape to illustrate that one. And I love doing that with these pieces. If I can find a fabric that looks like it could be, too intricate to draw for one, but also just it would be more interesting having a lot of pattern on there, I'll use a washi tape. So I found a washi tape that would sort of pick out those colors from the image, and that was like reds and greens and gold, obviously. And so I've used that as the headscarf parts, and I really think it made the piece pop. What I love about this photo and about this lady is her eyes. So her eyes really draw you into this drawing. So I'm happy I was able to reflect that. I really tried hard to just to try and sort of bring your eye to the eyes in the picture itself. So I'm glad that I feel I succeeded with that part. So this month's mind map took a lot more time than my usual ones do. I normally just like to include a little bit of the face and then kind of keep the rest as marker or fine liner. But I just really liked how this one was turning out, so I wanted to keep going. So I ended up doing a lot more skin than I intended on doing in the beginning. But yeah, really, really happy with the warmth and the brightness, the vividness of this particular page. So I think it's quite striking. So I'm glad I've got that here to remember back when I look through these in the future. So yeah, really happy with this one. And then to finish off the page, I just wanted to title it. So I just wrote the words mind map on the top right hand corner, and I used a calligraphy pen that I have, which is the Kuretake Fudanusuke brush pen. And to do this, I'm just using a light hand on my upstrokes and a heavier hand on my downstrokes. If you do want something more detailed for calligraphy, I have got a sort of a Calligraphy 101 basics video on my channel. Feel free to check that out if you want to learn more about calligraphy. And I will do more calligraphy videos in the future because I know that a lot of you want to see more. I'm just trying to figure out which things to show and what kind of videos to put out for you guys to help with that. So if you are interested in learning more about the calligraphy side of things, I'll make sure to link the playlist to the videos I have made on calligraphy down below in the description box. And just finishing up the last elements of this drawing with some gold pen action. There wasn't quite enough gold on this spread, so I needed to add some more. And that really just finished it off. And then this is how the final piece turned out. Now, in case you're wondering what the folded piece of paper was for, that's just to help me stop the Prismacolor from transferring onto the other page. It doesn't do it very much, but it just adds a little bit of like a dirtiness onto the page, which I don't like. So I've just put that in while it's settling, So I just put that in while I'm working on this piece, and now we are onto the Goodliness page. So if you're new here, my Goodliness page is my habit trackers. So this is where I track all my good habits, hence the name Goodliness. And what better signifies goodliness than Gandhi himself? So I definitely wanted to include Mahatma Gandhi on this page, but I also wanted to tie in other elements about India and the independence that it gained and the national flower, just kind of a combination of all elements. So the design, I'm still doing that kind of Mehendi inspired design, and I'm using the lotus flower as the centerpiece because the lotus is the national flower of India. It symbolizes purity, enlightenment, growth, and rebirth. So it's quite a lovely centerpiece to display the independence of India, which happened on the 15th of August in 1947. So that was quite timely for the month of August to be displayed by India. That was awesome. And then I've just added the peace symbol down the bottom and enhanced this whole illustration just with lots of, flowy details. But a bit more about Gandhi. I did not realize that Mahatma is actually not his first name. Much of the West think it is, but Mahatma is actually from the Sanskrit words Maha, meaning great, and Atma, meaning soul. So he was a great soul, therefore he was labeled Mahatma Gandhi. So that was interesting to me. And I love some of the quotes that he had as well, like, an eye for an eye only ends up making the whole world blind. In a gentle way, you can shake the world. And then my personal favorite is, you must not lose faith in humanity. Humanity is like an ocean. If a few drops of the ocean are dirty, the ocean does not become dirty. I think all these are really nice things to keep in mind, and he was all about peace and just acceptance of everyone, and was the founding leader of non-violent resistance, which in turn granted India the independence. So clearly an amazing guy who really deserves to be on this Goodliness spread, for me to be reminded to focus on only the good things in life. Wow, we're getting real deep today, guys. One of the other icons I included in the very center of this page, in the middle of the lotus flower, is called the Ashoka Chakra. It's found on the flag in the middle. It's a 24-spoked wheel, and it's definitely a Buddhist symbol. I'm pretty sure it refers to the Dharma, which is the teachings of Buddha. And I'm once again titling this page using a calligraphy style, just using that same brush liner, and then instead of writing out all the little tiny calendars for the month of August, I'm doing my usual trick of just printing some out and then sticking them in. I will actually have this as an available printable for you, because I've had a couple of people ask me where I get the calendars from, and I just make them myself. So I will just link them in the free printables on my website, and then you guys can access them when you need them. So I might just upload them each month so that they're fresh for the month ahead, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so August ones are up there if you want to print them out and put them in your own journal. And also on that note, if you really like this theme in particular, or any of my other themes I've done in the past, I have them available to purchase as printables. So yeah, do check those out if you're wanting this exact theme for in your bullet journal at home. They are available on my website. I'll leave the link to the website down in the description box. And here's the final shot of the Goodliness page with all its intricate details. I really like how this one turned out. And now we're moving on to the final page of the setup, which is my first weekly spread. Now this is a space that I need to write my daily task list, and then I tick them off as I go. So I need quite a lot of space for the actual content. And then I just keep a little section available for an illustration. And this one, I didn't really do much geography, like places to go in India in this round. So I definitely wanted to do something that popped into my head straight away with where to go if I was ever in India. I definitely want to check out the Taj Mahal. So I tried to illustrate that. I've kind of zoomed in on the one half of it. So picture this as a mirror image on the other side, and then you've got the whole Taj Mahal. But so I've just illustrated a little bit of it down in this bottom right-hand corner. Kept it very simple, just using my fine liners to illustrate the building itself, which I never really looked into what it actually is. And I didn't realize, but the Taj Mahal is actually a mausoleum. So it's completely made out of ivory white marble, and it was commissioned back in 1632 by the emperor to house the tomb of his favorite wife, and then also himself later. So this amazing building that I always just assumed was maybe a place of worship or a palace or something is actually a UNESCO World Heritage Site and attracts 7 to 8 million visitors per year. So definitely want to see this place in the flesh one day. I want to be one of those millions of people that have that awesome photo in front of this incredible building. And then I finished this page off with a little bit of gold washi tape and some gold accents. And I really think it's nice to start the weeklies, pure and gold and simple. So that, my friends, brings us to the end of our setup. And now I will take this opportunity to say thank you to my newest patrons on my Patreon channel. If you're not aware, I'll leave a link down in the description box where you can see extra content and receive bonus art and printables. But my newest patrons are Ran A, Kiki F, Francine H, Angela C, Nafi T, and Joan M. Thank you guys for coming on board. I really appreciate it. And for everyone else, if you want to come back next week to check out the rest of my India setup, please do. I will be also offering the votes for the next month, which seems crazy, but yes, let's choose what country we do in September. I really hope you enjoyed this India-inspired bullet journal setup, and I will see you again soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.